Hi folks, thanks for watching my little series of videos reviewing Rangers season 2022-2023. Originally supposed to be 2 videos, turned into 3, but I promise you that's it, all done and dusted. Only looking forward now, onwards and upwards. Already the new season is kind of looming over the sun-kissed horizon like a big ball of optimism, and actually a few folk got in touch to say that I probably hadn't covered every aspect of everything that went wrong last season. So to that end, let's make this a little bit like a snagging list of a video. Let's make this an epilogue video, if you will. Let's make this a wee postcard. Aye, alright, it's a 4th video. What do you want from me? Happiness rates white. If only we won a flipping trophy last season, I could be giving it. Oh, did you prefer to have 2nd or 3rd goal in the final? What was Alfie's celebrations like when the track at Hampden? You know, how drunk did you get? Bang, one video, whole season's covered, but no, we've got issues, troops. Nobody was getting in touch with me. It was me. I couldn't get to sleep last night for thinking that if I don't cover every single thing that went wrong last season, how are we supposed to go into season 2023, 2024 with a clean slate, spiritually, emotionally, mentally? Need to get it out of the system, need to get the poison out there. Injuries, 3 videos I've done. Every single one of them, I'm talking about injuries. Still haven't covered all the injuries. That tells you all you need to know about the physical health of our playing personnel last season. Something else is equally telling is Ross Wilson, our Director of Football, departing for Nottingham Forest before the end of the season. Now, maybe Ross wanted a wee move anyway, but when you come out into the director's box at Fir Park, Motherwell, and the entire away end is holding up a picture of your face with a huge red cross through it, probably helps you make up your mind that it's time for a change. Same fate befell our Managing Director, Stuart Robertson, also the subject of the same protest, which in an earlier edition at Ibrox, a banner had said that the directors had taken their eye off the ball after 55. Now, whether that's true or not is best examined by looking at the transfer business we did this time last year, last summer, 2022, summer of 2022. Calvin Bassey and Joe Aribo have left for a combined fee of between 30 million and 40 trillion pounds, depending on what reports you read. But the inarguable thing is, players that good, that young, Rangers in our current financial situation cannot hold on to them. No disgrace for those players to go. In fact, watching Calvin Bassey's development from an unreliable understudy to Borna Barisic to being one of the best left backs and centre halves in Europe in the space of one season in 2021-2022 is one of the great joys of my life as a Rangers fan. Joe Aribo scoring in a European final for Rangers, iconic, and doing so because we didn't have any fit strikers, because we had injuries the previous season as well. Joe Aribo, we're hoping to replace him. Seems difficult, but no, we get Joe Aribo. Number 2, we go to Bayern Munich. We've negotiated a deal with Bayern Munich, and that's good business from Ross Wilson. And we've got Malik Tillman on loan, and Malik Tillman is Joe Aribo from the first 2 seasons under Steven Gerrard. Joe Aribo, who couldn't score against Celtic. Remember those accusations? Same thing thrown at Tillman this season, a season in which he's been equally skillful. We're not for 1 second thinking that we could replace somebody who's improved as momentously as Calvin Bassey, the player he became. Rangers simply can't afford to buy another one like that. So we're doing things like we're buying John Souttar for nothing. No fee involved and worth a risk despite his injury history because of that. John Souttar plays 1 game, the first game of the season against Livingston, gets injured. Terrible family tragedy hitting the Souttar family this year. So he's out for us until, just basically a couple of months ago. Playing really well towards the end of the season there, but no influence in the business part of the season. Ridvan Yilmaz, he's our most expensive signing defensively last year, 3.4 million, most expensive signing for the club last summer. He can't settle into life in Scotland straight away. Who can blame him? But just when we really need him to come in, is Borna's about to go off to the World Cup with Croatia. He plays at left back for about 20 minutes. Ridvan against Aberdeen at Ibrox in October looks quite good. Ping, sniper's rifle, he's injured. That's him for the rest of the season, kind of in and out with injury. Again, tail end of the season, comes into meaningless league games. It looks good, but don't know if we'll see him again. Ben Davies, a £3 million centre-half, arrives injured from Liverpool. Is injured a few more times during the course of the season, and in between times is just all right, and it's actually culpable for at least 1 goal, probably a couple that we'll lose to Celtic. So I'd be surprised if we see him in a Rangers jersey. Again, you've got Tom Lawrence, who didn't cost us anything, plays really well for about a month until, surprise, surprise, he gets injured. Antonio Chola, a 30-goal-a-season striker, arrives for £1.8 million, looks like a 30-goal-a-season striker until Ping gets injured. When he comes back, in between his time in the Crocs club, he's still scoring goals against Partick Thistle in the Cup. Against St Mirren last week, he gets up to 14 league goals despite being out for so long. He's quality, a good signing, got injured. Rabbi Matondo comes from Schalke 04. Now, I know they get relegated this season, but that's a good school. I think when he was at Cercle Brugge on loan in Belgium, he got nominated or shortlisted for, maybe even won a prize for the best young player in that league. He's been a failure this season. His confidence is gone, showing signs that he could be a good player. Maybe doesn't like playing against a low block, or I think he's just incapable of playing to his full potential this season because his head's away. He's not the solution to the Daniel Candeias problem that we thought he was going to be. Not so far anyway. The goalie problem I've spoken about in previous videos. I've also spoken about the fact that the Champions League being playing in a shorter time frame, a compressed Champions League because of the mid-season World Cup, was the worst possible thing for Rangers in their current financial situation. We just don't have the squad to cope with that kind of intensity. But something else that will exacerbate your injury problems is a poor pre-season. I'm talking about that Scott Arfield quote. I don't know when Scott said this, who he said it to, but it became more pointed when Giovanni van Bronckhorst left the club in November. Scott had said that Gio preferred his players to train with the ball in pre-season. They just had football-based training as opposed to what Scott Arfield described as being broken. He liked to get broken physically and mentally, as he was under Sean Dyche at Burnley when he played in the Premier League down in England, as he was under Gerrard when he first arrived at Rangers. Scott Arfield was one of the players who looks like a beneficiary of the kind of Jock Wallace, Gull and Sands type of pre-season. You saw that interview he had after the Hearts game just the other week there, his last time at Ibrox, so the veins are actually bulging at the side of his head like Dominic Raab after being asked to talk to a normal person on Question Time. It's like tracing paper over Scott Arfield's kind of sinew and bone. There is not an ounce of fat on him. He said basically that Giovanni van Bronckhorst didn't give the players a proper pre-season. And when I was watching us losing to Celtic, for example, in the League Cup final this season, I was up in that top deck of the main stand as it comes round, sweeps round behind the Rangers end. You can see the pitch sitting in front of you like a tactics table. You can see the space, the grass that Rangers are not able to run into, not able to exploit, but Celtic can. Not taking anything away from Celtic, they deserve everything they won this season, but their players are not more intrinsically skillful than ours. They're just fitter, and that's a real indictment of what's happened at Ibrox. And hopefully Michael Beale is going to sort that out. I also think Michael Beale, a lot made of this fact by me as well, that he didn't win in his first 4 Old Firm games, but he's arrived in November. He's won his first Old Firm game in May. Back when Ange Postecoglou first arrived in Scotland, he arrived at Celtic with a full pre-season, but he arrived in June, and it was the following February before he won his first Old Firm game. And I think if we'd managed to play Celtic kind of 4 times in the first 6 months of Ange's reign at Parkhead, we would have come out on top in at least 3 of those games. So I'm not worried about that. I think he's going to sort it out, Mr. Beale. And also, I think we have to look at the way European football goes just now. We're all raging because it's Celtic that have stopped us in every competition this season. But that's actually, while it's murder when you're facing Celtic fans at your work or whatever, it's actually in objective terms much more respectable than going out in League Cup semi-finals to Aberdeen and Motherwell, for example, as we did when we first got back into the top flight, finishing 3rd in the league behind Aberdeen, getting beaten in the Scottish Cup at Tynecastle, losing to Hibs in the Scottish Cup final. When we won 55, it was St Johnstone and St Mirren who stopped us winning the treble. The fact that it's only Celtic between us and all-out domination in Scotland, between us and every trophy in Scotland this season, is actually one of those kind of horrible, dirty signs of progress that nobody at Rangers wants to admit to or talk about, but we're definitely moving in the right direction. European football just now is dominated by one club in each domestic league. It used to be just Mickey Mouse leagues like Scotland. You had teams winning, 9 seasons in the trot to be league champions. Estonia. Now it's Italy, Germany, Juventus, Bayern Munich. Manchester City have won 5 of the last 6 English titles. You're either on top and you're on top for, you're winning trebles basically, or you're sitting there waiting to take your turn to be the top team. And I think we've positioned ourselves now. Just a few tweaks, a few of the signings we're already seeing. Michael Beale is going to be able to push Celtic off top spot. I think we look absolutely fantastic for the coming season, which is the only season I'm going to be talking about from now on. Thanks for listening, troops.